Welcome back to Dead Sleep True Crime for Bedtime. I'm Nancy Miller, and for tonight's episode, we're going to conduct a little experiment. This is an experiment as much for me as it is for you. I recently came across some headlines about a study suggesting sleep is our brain's rinse cycle. And when we close our eyes at night and fall asleep, our blood vessels sweep away metabolic refuse and other unwanted molecules. There's a network of vessels, like little foamy scrubbing bubbles called the glymphatic system, that floods our skull with cerebrospinal fluid, bathing our overworked and exhausted brains in this gentle and cleansing wash. Like our brains are a cashmere sweater that's gently hand-washed every night. And I thought, that sounds fantastic. My brain, especially my true crime brain, could use a little spring cleaning. A true crime cleanse. From all of that residue of all the documentaries and British dramas and podcasts, including this podcast. So for this episode, I'm messing a bit with the typical ratios. This episode will lean mostly into the sleep side of the show, with just a bit of the dead side of the show. And don't worry, in this dead sleep detox, we're not going cold turkey. This episode starts with a true crime story, one of the biggest and most notorious murder mysteries in the crime canon. And we'll look at this notoriously grisly case from a dead sleep, non-violent, non-graphic point of view. And then we'll drift away from that story into a whole other realm tangentially related, with soothing segues and details to wash your mind of all of that tacky true crime residue, metaphorically speaking. So if you're interested in experimenting with me in this true crime brain cleanse, please continue listening. And if it's not your thing, that's okay. Check back in next week with a new true crime for bedtime story. And with that, let's settle in for the night and get ready for the dead sleep detox I'm calling Black Dahlia and Vanilla Crumble. Elizabeth was known as a quiet girl, but she wasn't subtle. Everything she did was executed with dramatic flair and a heavy hand. Especially her makeup. While all of the other 20-something women in Los Angeles aspired to have a fresh-faced look, a natural glamour with foundation that was an exact match for one's skin, or even a shade darker to lend the appearance of a sun-kissed glow, including creamed blush that was applied with a makeup technique called the tri-dot method. That's 3 little dots in the shape of a triangle along each cheek for the effect of a rosy, dewy, angelic look, the bloom of health. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it was Maybelline. But Elizabeth didn't put on makeup. When she went out, she forged a mask, choosing a tone of foundation that was nearly geisha-like in how white it was. While other young women finally applied eyeliner into a cat's eye, Elizabeth liked something smoky, dark as charcoal, which turned her bright blue eyes into 2 magnets, like a pair of finely cut tanzanite gemstones displayed on heavy black velvet. It was all too much. That was the opinion of her roommate, who worked at Max Factor, a cosmetic company, just off of Hollywood Boulevard. So naturally, Elizabeth's roommate saw herself as an expert. And this roommate, she'd suggest that perhaps Elizabeth was off-trend, maybe a little tacky. Maybe what her roommate failed to understand was Elizabeth's makeup wasn't made for real life. The 22-year-old had moved from Massachusetts to Los Angeles to cultivate a whole new image. One who would starkly stand out in the bright LA sunshine. One that wasn't natural and shiny and angelic, but an image that was darker and intriguing. An aesthetic later reflected in the images of pinup Betty Page, on television with Morticia Adams, and later perfected by Dita Von Teese. But at the time, it was dramatic, it was strange, and it was highly photogenic, which was the point. Elizabeth's look was made for the camera. Hair, face, clothes, makeup, with those ethereal blue eyes that would one day haunt our souls. A woman who no one claimed to know, not really, when she was alive, but a face and a story we'd all become obsessed with after death. Not as Elizabeth Short, glamorous and eccentric goth girl, but the murder victim at the center of the most notorious unsolved murder case of all time. Black Dahlia. From the morning she was found, January 15th, 1947. Every single piece of this unsolved murder case has been studied, analyzed, picked over, and there's the big mystery. Who killed Elizabeth Short? Then there's another mystery. Invisible. A mysterious artifact. A detail that's one part cosmetic and one part clue. Elizabeth Short's perfume. Elizabeth Short had a signature fragrance, one that was described as floral, sweet, and what was known as oriental, a spicy, woody perfume that was built to last. One that was applied with the same heavy hand as her makeup. In some of the Black Dahlia lore, when police arrived at the scene, Elizabeth Short's life was long gone, but her perfume still lingered. And that lingering scent, typically a bass note, is called sillage. Sillage is a French word. It means trail. And it's meant to describe the effect of a fragrance. When a person walks by, there's a trail of scent behind them. The person physically moves on, but her essence, it stays for a brief few moments, like a ghost. And while scent couldn't nail a suspect, the human transfer, the power of that scent detected in an item of clothing worn by a suspect, could offer valuable information. Let's say a suspect swore they hadn't seen the victim, no contact with the victim. But the unique scent transfer of fragrance, say mixed in with our own human essence, would suggest otherwise. That not only was the suspect potentially with the victim, they were in close contact with the victim, intimate, even deadly contact. What's compelling is how evocative perfume is. And for all of the images we've seen of Elizabeth Short, one whiff of her perfume, and we'd instantly feel like we knew her. So what perfume did Elizabeth Short wear? And what did it say about her? Based on the description of the bottle that was found amongst Elizabeth's things, some true crime enthusiasts and perfume obsessive, that's fragheads, have theorized that the perfume Elizabeth Short wore was called Taboo. And while a bottle of the vintage stuff sells now for up to $200, a collector's item, back then, Taboo was a 5 and dime fragrance when you bought at the drugstore. And according to that roommate, who apparently wasn't a fan of Taboo, Elizabeth, she said, doused herself in it. Again, it wouldn't be a clue that would lead to an arrest. But understanding the perfume she wore lent insight into who she was, who she wanted to be. Because perfume then, as it does now, tells a story about who a person was, and maybe just as important, who she aspired to be, the kind of life she wanted to have, the sort of men she wanted to attract. Back then, in old advertisements, 2 people are seen in shadow, dancing. A man and a woman, close, nearly kissing. In those old ads, Taboo, that's Tabu, was advertised as a forbidden fragrance. In an ad from 1946, that's right around the time that Elizabeth was in Hollywood and potentially wearing the fragrance, the advertising copy, the tagline of Taboo, sounds inadvertently chilling in retrospect. For evenings of consequence, the perfume of consequences. Fragrance has the power to immediately conjure up memories. At the same time, it's also a way to escape. During the pandemic, I got really into perfume as a way of bringing something new into my life. A way to get out of the mundanity of lockdown. And even if I didn't buy the perfume, maybe it was just a sample, I loved reading the descriptions of the copy. And though I haven't found my signature scent, my Taboo, I have found reading the descriptions of these perfumes is very relaxing. And now this is the experiment. I'm wondering if we can get that true crime cleanse. I have handpicked the perfume descriptions that I personally found the most interesting, the most detailed, the most relaxing, like little mini stories that you don't really have to pay attention to, but they're so full of rich information in the kind of vivid, lush language that's perfect for falling asleep. Oh, and just to be clear, so there's no confusion, this isn't any type of sponsorship or stealth advertising. This really is just something that I like, that I'm sharing. These are all independent perfumes. Copy I thought was well written, and I'll link to the stuff in the show notes. I'm going to start with a zesty, refreshing fragrance. It's called Limonada. It comes from the French perfumer Narcotica. And Limonata is described as a radiant symphony of sweet, juicy mango, grapefruit, and sea. It's an olfactory journey to the sun-drenched Mediterranean coast. Created by renowned master perfumer Claude Dieu, this scent opens with a luminous burst of semi-sweet exotic fruits, evoking the essence of fruity Italian lemonade. The zesty brightness is beautifully balanced by refreshing marine notes capturing the crisp, aquatic breeze of the coastline. Effortlessly uplifting and irresistibly fresh, Limonada embodies the warmth of golden sunshine, the sparkle of the sea, and the carefree joy of endless summer days. A fragrance that lingers like a cherished memory, vibrant, refreshing, and utterly captivating. The Limonada fragrance notes are grapefruit, red currant, ginger, pink pepper, mango, ambroxan, marine notes, fig, moss, cedar, musk, and amber. And it's $300 for 100 milliliters. I think after this, I will not be noting prices. Everything on this list is pretty expensive. Our next perfume is Pastel Rumors by Sarah Baker, based in the United Kingdom. And the experience is described as grabbing a fruity milkshake while you're on the back of a Vespa, and you notice everyone is staring at you, and there are whispers. Defiantly, you smile at them as you speed off. Bursting at the seams with carefree gourmand delight, Pastel Rumors is a fragrance about living your unapologetic best life. At its heart is the fruit milkshake that our unnamed heroine brings with her on an unapologetic joyride. Juicy peach and a perfect evocation of sweet, fruity cereal, blending into cold milk, cutting through the heat of a sweltering Italian summer. Gentle spices linger in the seaside breeze, while a warm, musky vanilla base glows like the just approaching sunset. Adventurous, nostalgic, and more than a little addictive, Pastel Rumors is a gourmand for free spirits. The fragrance notes of this perfume are peach, Fruit Loops, milk, ginger, cardamom, caramel, custard cream, vanilla, and musk. A gourmand fragrance, by the way, typically means it has kind of food notes, like stuff you'd use to bake something: vanilla, chocolate, cinnamon, caramel. Our next perfume is called Green Vanille. That's like vanilla in French, Vanille. And it is from an American perfumer named Regime de Fleur. And this appears to be a twist on your usual vanilla. Vanilla fragrances are typically warm, sweet, and simple, but not this time. Green Vanille captures vanilla in its natural habitat, a vine winding through the lush jungle. No sugarcoating here. True vanilla, layered with spicy coriander, hazelnut, and woody vetiver to keep things cool, complex, and intelligently alluring. This is vanilla all grown up, and she's complicated. And the notes here of Green Vanille are green hazelnut, almond milk, blue chamomile, vanilla, coriander, Haitian vetiver, Atlas cedar, and New Caledonian sandalwood. Up next is another French fragrance called Neo-Animism by a brand called Mami Wata. Neo-Animism is a fragrance that is alive with meaning and African oceans. Our fine fragrance has been created with two dominant notes of African ocean minerals. These capture our relationship and experience in the water. The minerals in the ocean are understood by our bodies and minds in almost an imperceptible way. Our nose can identify them. The scent of green bar soap captures the daily lived experience of African surfers growing up in southern Africa. Green bar soap is a common household soap found throughout the region that has the power to conjure memories for many people, summoning up the idea of home, or mother, fresh linen, or the beginning of a new day. Our next perfume is called Sakura Snow, and it's Japanese influenced out of Vietnam. And the description, the write-up, starts with a haiku. Snow falls on snow and remains silent. And this perfume was inspired by the austere beauty of winter in Japan, a perfect subject for the evocative minimalism of haiku. This perfume is also an intensely compelling olfactory tableau. The crisp chill of winter air, an early bud of cherry blossom, and a bright ray of sunshine melting the soft powder snow. This is Sakura Snow, a poetic and gently compelling portrait of the cherry blossom tree at the turn of seasons. On a bed of fresh, musky snowfall, warm solar notes illuminate a smooth, delicate cherry blossom note, accented with clean lily of the valley and aromatic juniper. Lovely, gentle, and deeply compellingly relaxing. Sakura snow is a meditative beauty. Sakura snow fragrance notes are cherry blossom, snow, solar notes, juniper berry, and white musk. Ooh, this one sounds really nice. The name of this perfume is French, Bois narcotique intense 602, which means an intense narcotic drink, 602. But check out this write-up. It starts as a walk after a torrent of rain, rays of sunshine after the storm, glimpse through the foliage of the undergrowth, an overdose of pepper, pungent incense, and wet earth, cold spices scattered in amber woods, unexplained addiction, bewitching fragrance. And the notes in this unisex perfume are incense, black pepper, pink pepper, Jamaican chili pepper, cedar, green apple, neroli, patchouli, vetiver, amber woods, and moss. Okay, we're going to do another foodie one. This one's called Oud Candy. This one's from South Korea. And the description sounds delicious. The smell of brown sugar melting on a warm stove is pure comfort. Sweet, rich, and buttery. But when it starts to burn, the dark, smoky edge that emerges is a seductive addiction all of its own. Impossible to ignore. Oud Candy captures that moment, where sweetness transforms into something bolder, sexier, more mysterious. A fragrance that truly blends the warmth of gourmand indulgence with a smoky, sultry opulence. A perfect balance of light and dark. Oud Candy, that's O-U-D, that means wood. Oud Candy opens with a rich sweetness of melting brown sugar, creamy nuts, and warm milk, creating a cocoon of gourmand bliss. As the scent evolves, soft white florals bring in a touch of romance and refinement. But in the base, Oud Candy reveals its darker side, with smoky oud, saffron, and black woods layered over velvety caramel and vanilla. Hints of leather and oak moss add a sultry, bold finish. Sweet yet smoky, comforting yet daring, Oud Candy is a deliciously addictive journey into the dark side of indulgence. Boy, these notes. Brown sugar, candy, nuts, milk, white flowers, oud, saffron, black woods, vanilla, caramel, sandalwood, leather. This one's pretty expensive too. This next one has the best name. It's called Jasmine Freak. And it's another fragrance from France, just released. It's a fragrance that dives into the transgressive art of self-expression, with the tropical vibrancy of mango, the exotic allure of jasmine, and the creamy sensuality of tuberose. It allows a bold world to flourish, where individuality thrives. Fashion, music, cinema, literature, and fragrance intertwine to celebrate freedom and creativity. Boy by day, girl by night, this scent invites you to break the rules and defy expectations. Come as you are. The fragrance notes include mango, black pepper, black currant, sweet orange, bourbon, Egyptian jasmine, musk, and cashmere wood. Okay, and here's the really luxurious one that I've been waiting for. Creamy Vanilla Crumble. It's another UK fragrance. Creamy Vanilla Crumble is a gold bottle of creamy custardness with notes of crumble and a tiny bit of fresh leaf tobacco. This fresh tobacco leaf adds richness and depth to a fragrance that might otherwise be a little too sweet or too fluffy. Our sophisticated vanilla custard fragrance is made to last and stays close to the skin to invite closer inspection. Sumptuously creamy custard with an earthy twist of tobacco and a hint of pastry, a fabulously grown-up gourmand. The fragrance notes of creamy vanilla crumble are vanilla and tobacco. Ooh, let's do one more. London Fog. That came out last year. It's an American perfumer. The House of Brandt. The House of Brandt introduces London Fog, an ode to cherished rituals and moments of calm, quiet luxury. Imagine a cup of freshly brewed Earl Grey tea, bright with bergamot, yet infused with the gently smoky depth of black tea. Silky steamed milk frothed with decadent vanilla bean and a hint of lavender, sweetened with whipped honey and savored at a cozy cafe on a quiet London street as the remaining morning fog mingles with a pleasantly soft rain shower. Let London Fog be your invitation to pause and indulge in the serenity of a moment of warmth and quiet luxury. London Fog's fragrance notes, as you might expect, are bergamot Earl Grey tea, lavender, white musk, and whipped honey. I don't know about you, but I think this experiment has made me tired and also a little hungry. Thank you so much for listening to this true crime cleansing episode of Dead Sleep True Crime for Bedtime. I might do this again, this Dead Sleep detox. So if you have suggestions of stuff that you would like for me to explore in a future episode that feels refreshing and cozy and cleansing, let me know at deadsleeppodcast@gmail.com. I'll be back next week with a whole new, proper true crime story. Until then, nighty-night.